Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leathercraft, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a leather element, drop it in the comment box below. Rub off. If we work leather, it's an age-old problem with no perfect answer. Dye goes in, there's a chance it's going to come back out. We can only do as much as we can do. Now we're going to talk about veg tan. Chrome tans, dyed, sealed at the tannery, and they're pretty good for rub-off. Still susceptible. But we're going to talk about veg tan where we're adding the dye. I've got a process, works pretty well for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a basic alcohol dye and a pro dye. We're going to dye 2 straps, go through this simple process, and at the end, let's do an experiment. Let's see what happens. I've got 2 straps here, just like I was going to make a belt or a pair of straps. I've got a groove line and I've beveled front and back. We're going to go with black, the ultimate culprit in rub-off. Let's see what happens. Now I've got these marked. Since we're going to be in black, I'm not going to be able to tell which is which. For a P for pro and an A for alcohol. Now that's a little misleading because they both have an alcohol carrier. The difference is this. The regular leather dye, that's a powder-based dye stuff. The pro dye is an oil-based dye stuff. So what I'm going to do is run the one marked P through my pro dye, and then I'm going to run my A through my alcohol dye. And our alcohol strap. So let's lay this down, and I'm going to give these about maybe 2 hours dry time. In my shop, after I dye, I'm going to clean my straps or my dyed piece with a rag, lightly oiled with neat's foot. We'll get there. But let's do this. Let's take a white rag, straight from the dye bin. Let's see what kind of rub off we're going to get. So right here, this is our pro dye. I'm going to rub our top grain, edges, and then flesh or skive side. Look at that. Already we're not getting much rub off. Edges, these are going to be our problem. So let's run this down one edge. Well, you know what? Not bad there either. I'm going to do the other side and the skive. Let's see what happens. I've got a little bit of rub off, but you know what? All told, that's not bad. That's our pro dye. Let's step over to our alcohol. Going to do the same thing. Okay, top grain. We've got a lot of rub off. Let's try our edge. All told, our edges, not really too bad. Let's jump over to our skive or flesh side. This is where our problem's going to be. Okay, again, we've got a good bit of rub off on our alcohol. But all told, it's not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. Okay, let's do this. We're going to step over to our rag. Now, with this, I keep this in a baggie just to keep the oil from evaporating. But this is a lightly oiled rag. I should have gotten a new rag, shouldn't I, for the video. But with this, it's lightly oiled, neat's foot oil. I tend to go with the compound as opposed to the pure, no particular reason. But with this, it's very lightly oiled. So therefore, if I'm using a lighter color, my oil is not going to make that color inconsistent. But let's do this. I'm going to clean both pieces. Again, top grain, both edges, and our flesh side. And our alcohol dye. Okay, that is still rubbing off badly. Let's jump over to our pro. All told, not bad. Now we're getting some rub off. But notice, the pro is wicked in a little bit better. So the rag, just removing some small excess. Basically, I'm more cleaning than oiling, but I am getting a little bit of oil in there. Okay, next step. Let's add a top coat. I'm going to reset here. Let's see what that does for us. We're going to go with a leather balm. Now this video, it's more about the process than the product. Most of the top coats are going to react roughly the same way. Now with this, I've got 2 rags. So I'm going to use one, I call it a wet rag because I'm going to use that to apply our top coat. Then I've got a dry rag. I'm going to use this to buff. Now I'm going to go sparingly, let's say sparingly on our top grain. But then when I get to my edges, I'm going to go heavy both edges, and then I'm going to go heavy across my flesh or skive side. And our alcohol strap. Well, I'm still getting some dye from that, but not bad. Okay, what we want to do, let's give our leather balm about 5 minutes to dry, then let's test it again. Let's see what happens. So let's see, this is our alcohol. Let's try our top grain. Little rub off, okay, on our edges. Bad rub off. That's still rubbing off on me. And our other edge, same thing. Let's try our back. Not bad, but we're definitely still getting some rub off. On a white business shirt or dress, that's going to be a problem. Let's jump over to our oil-based dye or our Pro dye. Nothing. Cool. Okay, let's try our edges. All right, both edges, let's see what we've got. Little to nothing. All told, that's about the best we can hope for. And the last for our Pro dye, just about nothing coming off of that edge. Okay, we do have one more step. If our alcohol dye is something we like to use, what we can do is we can always add some gum trag. So let's run that down our edge. Wipe that off, and then I'm just going to buff this down. And now let's take our slicker and let's slick this. Okay, got a good rounded edge on that. Now let's see if I can find a clean spot on our rag. Right there. Okay, let's see what we've got. Getting it down, we're still getting rub off. So, again, one of the reasons I like the Pro. We're about 99% of the way there, and in my opinion, that's the best we can do. And that's exactly right. We can only do as much as we can do. We're going to add dye to our projects. Now, there's two absolute ways to knock out rub off. First off, we can line a project. We can simply drop in a chrome or maybe a veg tan undyed on our back. But say we're making a belt. Now we've got to glue, we've got to cut, we've got to sew. And if we're hand sewing, we're adding 2 hours to that project. Another way to go, let's just don't add dye to the back. Well, what we found out though, our edges are the problem more than anything else. So are we going to wrap that dye around? Which never looks good because we can never get a really good even line there. We could always drop in an edge coat. Well, that's going to rub off too. So, in all honesty, in my opinion, there's no perfect answer. But if you have a good answer, drop it in the comment box below. If you have a good way to keep rub off to an absolute minimum, you know what? Your knowledge can be spread around and we will all benefit from it. I hope this is good information for you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.